Yeah, well, good. Rachel. Ready? Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're gonna do this very similar than what we did on our last one. We're going alphabetically on in approach. What do we have scheduled up to 15 minutes for the presentation? And then a short answer question
At the end.
Yeah. So we have engineering associates, the first in the alphabet. We'll ask everybody else to leave. And we should have chairs somewhere for everybody. More comfortable than the one you're sitting in. You can take them, they're not as comfortable. You like this photo, sir?
Your library, pretty nice.
Library, pretty nice.
There's a coffee machine in there.
Please introduce yourself and move forward.
All right, so I'm Lisa Mallon with Engineering Associates. So what I have for you in front of you should be in front of you. Let me know if you don't have copies for everything, but you should have a copy of our original proposal, which has a explanation of our company and our project team. So let me know if you have any questions on that. From that project team, we have pretty extensive experience working on distribution systems and PERs for obtaining and complying with funding regulation requirements. We're pretty well versed in the analysis and design of those distribution systems, including hydraulic modeling, which we performed for the town of Shoshoni during the 2021 master plan, teamed with Force. So that's part of the benefit we can bring to the project is we'll have that master plan or have that hydraulic model in front of us and ready to update this new line work that you're going to be going into with that subdivision. So as part of the handout I provided, I kind of listed out some of the typical PER requirements that we got to go through for putting together that report. And so some of that information we'll be able to kind of pull an update from that master plan. That would be kind of like the population trends from the project planning portion. For the existing facilities, that's where our hydraulic model will come in for your existing system. That'll help us to confirm that you have the adequate supply necessary to supply that subdivision, which I don't have any concerns that you wouldn't. We'd also use that to confirm the pipe size that we'd be going in with and just make sure that whatever we put in doesn't affect you downstream or in other areas in your system. The good thing about your location is, aside from the fact you already own it, so you don't have easement or right-of-way issues, you're gonna have pretty good looping right next to your transmission line right there. So it's gonna be pretty centrally located. And in terms of the PER, that's gonna be kind of ideal because it's gonna make it pretty straightforward for that engineer report. We're not providing a ton of alternatives in terms of like location of where you're gonna be putting in this subdivision, which is something that we tend to look at with those PERs. So The need for the project is fairly straightforward as well. It's just encouragement of your growth for providing, providing a place for your population to grow in particular. Like I said, alternatives considered, you're really not going to, need to consider a bunch of different locations. In terms of where you put your water line, it's likely you'll put it legal distance away from your sewer where you're already constructing. And, you know, a benefit of doing that is we should be able to qualify for a categorical exclusion. So your engineering or your environmental review should be pretty straightforward. Shouldn't necessarily have to go through the whole environmental review with that. You're already disturbing the area or have disturbed the area. So any historical artifacts that were there or endangered species, they've been mitigated. And then also in terms of constructability, you're in a pretty desirable location for that subdivision. There's not going to be too many unknowns or gotchas that we haven't learned about, at least during your sewer project. And that would be like high groundwater, well, if that was the case. And then, in addition to that, there's the selection of an alternative. Like I said, we don't have a ton of alternatives to go between, but we will be looking at the life cycle cost of what we put in. And we'll be comparing that with the costs of what you already maintain for your infrastructure. And putting that together for your report and showing your funding, see what you're planning on doing there. So, finally, we'd have your proposed project, and that's gonna be your preliminary design for your water line. Depending on your timing, you know, ideal, we would have solid, as-built information from your construction or your sewer construction so that we made sure we had perfect distances from your sewer. But that is your preliminary design. So if it's not finished by the time we need to turn this in, we can finalize it after your funding. And then as part of that, we'll put together a project schedule and your cost estimate for what we designed for you there. And we'll work with your town clerks to show the total impact on your budget and your operating costs. And then in terms of just the schedule for our workload, EA doesn't have any concerns about trying to get this done by October. Like I said, I think that there should be a pretty straightforward PER for that. Shouldn't have too many exceptions taken for that situation. And like I said, we can adjust your final design based off that sewer if any major changes happen to that sewer after the PER. And then just on the back of that, I had a kind of schematic from the water model that showed where that subdivision would go in next to your existing information. But other than that, do you guys have any questions for me?
The only question I have is, so this funding for the PER, it's a set amount from the USDA. But it covers all of our expansion. And only one component of this is 40 acres that we're talking about. We have property on the west side of Herbst Road. We haven't fully declared exactly the zoning or not so much the zoning, but the platting of. But would that be something, depending on funding, that could be still considered within this if budget allows for it, that it could be
Easily
scoped
tagged on.
into it, yeah.
Yeah, so this would be. Your question is whether it'd be easy enough to include that in the PDR?
If able to.
Yeah, I think it would be if that's an interest for you guys and funding that you're chasing. It's the same things I talked about apply. You're not in any area that we can't anticipate at least some of the challenges. Like I said, the major challenge that I would worry about would be stuff we can't see, so high groundwater or rock, but you're gonna know pretty well what you get from that sewer project. So tacking that on would really not be a huge expense, at least on our part. It's not like we're analyzing different parts of town.
Right, yeah. I mean, this was the main priority, but if we could get bigger bang for the initial investment, then it benefits us down the road as well. So,
Yeah, makes sense.
We have, 72 acres that approximately, remember right, Chris is talking about. And we plan them to be 1 and 2 acre size
Mhm.
plots, sort of minimum. We haven't platted it yet, so that's.
Is that in the process or it's just?
it is. We have a preliminary aspect of it, I guess I would say, but we haven't actually formally sat down and really formalized the exact layout, but we kind of have a general gist of it. That we've
Yes.
renditions of it that we've made.
Yeah, so obviously that'd have to be finalized before you get it,
Right.
before your October deadline, but as long as you did that in the next 2 months. I'd still think you'd have plenty of time.
Okay, that was just my only really question.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you have questions for us?
I think to begin with, it's, like I said, it seems pretty straightforward. Is there, concerns that you have about getting this through USDA? Aside from maybe tagging on.
We're
the
already,
extra?
we're already approved,
Yeah,
and so I'm looking at the big scope of what we can do with the money that we're approved for. And so I was just throwing that out there. I mean, this is obviously the most well-defined project we have right now moving forward, so it makes sense to definitely get this done.
Mhm.
But if we can expand to the second and third phase of what we're trying to do and get more out of this, that would be great too.
makes sense. Yeah, in terms of the engineering for that, I don't see an issue with that. And I wouldn't think that, if you've already got, the funding in place, we're just putting that report in there and meeting your USDA requirements. Just a matter of getting paperwork filed.
And if the water modeling suggests that we don't have enough water, or if we need another storage tank, then we'd address that as it comes up.
Yeah, we'd be able to identify that much, so
Right.
if that was the case. Like I said, I have doubts, even with an expansion, I have doubts that you'd have any issues with that. You seem to have plenty adequate water supply.
Very good. Anything else? Well, appreciate you coming over.
That would be the other question, is if the engineers next time can start bringing beer to share with
Yeah.
them. For these 6 o'clock ones. in
Right.
particular.
You're thinking as long as you go first, they'll be lit when they come in.
No, I.
That's a clever tactic.
Very, very sneaky.
Y2 will be slurring. All right,
Yep.
well, thank you for the opportunity to present to you.
What was next? Remember, it's 1 to 5 is the scale.
1 to 5?
1 to 5. I forgot to say that again.
I was gonna ask that question. So 1 to 5 on each separate category.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the multipliers are already preset, so
This wasn't on that deal, but how would it be on our other project?
they've already contacted the BIA and the BLM before the mayor even had a chance to contact them.
They're all over it down.
I would say they're all over it, yeah.
Yeah.
This Joel, when he came today, he's like, I went and talked to BLM and
Oh,
they
yeah.
had talked to them a week prior to me even showing up, so. They're on it.
Then with this one?
Yeah.
If you guys are ready. Good evening. I'm Jeff Gee. With me is someone, I don't know if you guys have met him before, Jim Gores. We're obviously with James Gores and Associates. This is, you guys know very well what the PER process is. This is for the residential subdivision on the west side of town, approximately 72 lots. The big one is on the request for qualifications, you asked to make sure that everything could be completed by October of this year. And that's not a problem for us, but we'll go into that a little later. This is a crucial step that people look for in the financial process when they're about to give funds for projects. So you have a very strict approach that you need to follow and address all these specific topics, existing facilities. This would be would also have to include things like any proposed wastewater collection that's going to be in the area. That's going to be a big one. How many fire hydrants in the area and what your coverage as a town would like to be, and the new wastewater pressure main that was just installed. So that's going to be crucial to make sure all these things do not conflict but complement each other. Then you have to go through the need for the project, and this is, you gentlemen all know why you need the project, or why some people believe they need the project, but explaining it to a funding agency is one of those tricky things that you just have to make sure that you follow all their procedures and write the correct words. A big need for the project is that you need adequate infrastructure to make those properties equitable for the town so that people will buy them. Next, you go through and you choose all your alternatives. One of those is always the do nothing, and you have to evaluate those consequences as well. Then you can do another one, which is a simple, straightforward plan that is, very budget oriented. And then you also look at another plan that includes all the bells and whistles you could possibly want with a water system, and compare these different things. You could have fire hydrants on every corner, and halfway down the street, you could have taps for services already installed. You can spend as much money as you want in your mind, as long as you're able to write it in a way that makes people look at the budget and kind of analyze what all these things cost, especially with a funding agency. The big one for us that we'll need your help on is selection of alternatives. Getting the town's input and knowing what you find important in the project, whether it's the budget or whether it's having all these things installed before you think about paving. Like, coming up with our decision matrix will definitely need a lot of help from the town. So once we get that matrix, we will come up with descriptions of the recommended alternatives. This also includes preliminary designs and kind of a layout with a project anticipated cost. And then it will also show any sort of land acquisition, additional right-of-way, permits, things that would be required for each of those alternatives. Once we go through that, we'll run our matrix and we'll determine what our recommended project would be. This will go into details on why we chose it and then give you an even, I guess, a slightly more refined plan so that you can work forward with it. And we'll write something up nice and pretty so that the funding agencies will kind of understand what the intent is. Part of this will also, according to RUS, need to include an environmental assessment. And as you guys know, environmental assessments have been already done on this whole area, so that's not a process that really warrants too much discussion because it's just going to be kind of a check off the boxes sort of procedure. Now that you kind of got the basic layout, I'll talk just a little bit about my firm. James Gores and Associates is 100% Fremont County. We're not relying on people outside of the county, so we have pride in the local community and the local area, and we are vested in making sure that everybody around us is taken care of. All of our sub-consultants, on the rare case that we would need to bring any in, because I know there's a lot of topography in this area that's already taken care of. I don't really think there's going to be many opportunities for needing additional survey or aerial, but just in case, all those people are also local to Fremont County as well. We have a long history with the town of Shoshoni. In the last 23 years, we have done 21 projects just with the town. This does not include all the studies that we have done with WWDC for the town. We're currently working on the level 2. We're the authors of the current level 1 water study. Another project to note is the PER for the what we called in our firm the mushroom plant sewer system, but the PER to put in the lift station. Obviously our principal engineer is Jim Gores, and he has been a fixture in Fremont County engineering as James Gores and Associates for the past 36 years. And he's been engineering for the past, well, more than that, let's just say. Both Jim and myself, although we both were born in Colorado, you should blame our parents for that and not us. Jim got his bachelor's at CSU, and he got his MBA at University of Wyoming. He has worked on 6 WWDC studies for the town of Shoshoni and so many others for local communities just in Fremont County and in Hot Springs County that I won't bore you listing them all. I was actually the author of the PER for the Shoshoni mushroom plant. And I currently worked with the level 1 and now the level 2. So literally, as long as I've been with Jim Gores, I've been studying the water system in Shoshoni. I have 13 years of experience in the field, and 3.5 of that is with Jim Gores. I would like to now open it up to any questions.
Well, you already stated there's no time with our timeline that we proposed.
Correct. So we were anticipating this taking between 12 and 14 weeks. And kind of that is kind of dependent on how long the selection process takes, negotiations, all that. But we think you're going to be done with this PER well before October. So you'll have plenty of chances to meet with us and make sure that your needs are met and everything is covered for the intent of the PER.
If funding is remaining and available on this, how difficult or feasible would it be to expand it beyond just this initial 72 lots or this 40 acres into the other lots that we haven't fully platted out. If we were to get those platted in the process, would that be something that could be incorporated into this seamlessly?
It could be, obviously, there would still be some negotiations to change the scope, but it's,
If available.
okay, I understand that, like, this is a hypothetical, I got it. It's the sort of thing that because the properties are so close to each other, that incorporating, the next section or the next, I can't, 170 acres total or some, I can't remember
It might
exactly
be
what
part
it
or
was.
all of it, but
Yeah, just
But
it would be really, really easy to incorporate all of them into it.
As long as we got the, environmental assessment and so forth covered for it, I don't know what it'd be a problem not to go forward on the next property next door.
Well, and I know our environmental assessment covered the whole kind of area on both sides down 7. So I can confidently say that the environmental assessment wouldn't be anything more already. So it's already going to be covered in what's been done.
Most of we have to come up with the expected cost for whatever would be constructed out there.
Yeah. So, were you looking at other fundings like outside of RUS or, I can't remember who just took over the
You,
water grants.
you mean, when we go into construction?
Well, yeah, because, kind of having a roadmap to what your final goal is, and I know you gentlemen here are very good at finding, funding sources, so.
Yeah, we're still sorting that out somewhat to see, because there's options. And it may involve multiple sources.
Yeah.
Or it may not, I mean, it's there's different avenues and ways to approach it and try to determine what's best route for the town.
Well, because I know RUS is more than happy to give
Yeah.
out money, but they're not always the best deal. So.
There's an opportunity to bring in perhaps one water development funding. Yeah.
Jim, could you come speak up to the thanks a lot.
Sure. No, we would think, possibilities of bringing in water development funding or perhaps state land investment for funding. I mean, let's look at all of them and see what is available and what these projects might fit into within the funding agency's parameters. And then go for it. Maximize what you can get out of it.
Yes.
sorry for the heat. I turned the AC on though. So
That's fine.
This is enough public speaking that it wouldn't matter. I'm still a little nervous.
I mean, it's a little worse wearing that vest.
yeah, I was getting a little toasty over here.
Mike Quiver, did you have any questions or anything? No questions, huh?
I don't have any.
We wanna make sure to work with you folks, hand in glove, so to speak, to fashion this project and its funding to the needs of the community and the ability to cover any loans or anything that you'd be taking on and meeting the parameters that the funding agencies would have. And so, and we're, I think, pretty familiar with those, and if not, we can certainly get familiar with them with the agencies, so. Yes, I can't think of any that we don't know of pretty well.
Anybody, anything else? Well, appreciate
Sure,
your application.
yes,
You're
there's certainly no challenge in getting done by the
Right.
deadline.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
Here's the first two. No. Where else? Who do you want to give it to Chris? I'm gonna give it to Chris.
Let's just go wait till they're all done.
Okay, I'll just, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, sir.
I went last update, last I heard that they were gonna get, they had gotten the wells finished up as far as getting it, cambered. And that's last I heard. I'm not sure if heard anything else since then.
What was the question?
Where they're at on the level 2.
Yeah, I was just curious how that level 2 was going, if they're still covered up on that or. Down. We actually can't, I don't think we can talk about that. You know, maybe it's not on the agenda. Relevant, in my mind. Okay, well, I was looking at it. Could have something to do with this project. Yeah, you're right, it's in water. Yeah.
Let's see if I can get into the meeting here, Chris.
Oh, you want a screen share?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the Zoom link, right?
Oh, yeah. You're the host.
All right. Let's see, share screen. Well, thanks for having us here again on a Friday. Looking forward to talking a little bit about the water distribution line PER. Gonna talk a little bit first just about our understanding and approach. Discuss some considerations for scope and budget. A little bit about our PER experience in Wyoming, and then qualifications of our staff. So we understand the town is looking to expand over, west of town there. It's pretty obvious. You guys have put some time and money into putting sewer in over there. And so it's the next step is to get the water lines put in there. And so a PR is a good way to do that, on getting that infrastructure in there, so that you can get some funding to do that. We have already gotten the hydraulic model and the GIS from the level 1 that was done from the state of Wyoming. We received that. That was done part of that WWDC level 1 study. So, part of what we'll do in our modeling is take a look at a preliminary layout for the water lines within that subdivision, and do just kind of see how that lays in there. You got to when you do that, make sure that you're aware of where the existing sewer is, and make sure that you've got some, spacing and different things there. And then we will take the plat map that you have and estimate demands, and basically just estimating the number of services per lot, just to kind of come up with a demand. And then using that hydraulic model, you can plug that into there and do a system verification on the ability of the town of Shoshone's current water system to meet pressure and demand out there. So writing a PR for this subdivision, I think is pretty straightforward. And that's assuming that there's sufficient supply to meet demand. So if there's not, then you have to look at what do we got to do to make sure that we have enough demand? And that's where some of the questions start to arise. Do we got enough supply in the tank? Are the water lines coming to it big enough? Can we provide adequate fire flow out there? And so some of those things are maybe the more challenging part, but just kind of plugging a subdivision into your existing system, I think is pretty straightforward. So that's the main goal, I think, of what you're trying to get out of this is just figure out what that subdivision, how it'll impact things. One of the things that we wanted to discuss is that there's a possibility of having an alternative approach. Because the town already did a WWDC level 1 master plan, it might make some sense to take the recommendations that were in that plan and weave them into your PER. And so that's some of the things that if we get selected, we want to discuss and negotiate with you is just, do you want us to include some of those items or do you want us just to keep it narrowly focused to the subdivision? We've got pretty good experience doing this, taking WWDC language and translating it into PER language. There is a little bit of an art to doing that. And there are some differences that, you know, our team is well acquainted with navigating. The other thing that this PR presents is an opportunity to include additional improvements in the PER that weren't included in your level 1 master plan. So I know I've discussed this with the mayor and maybe Mike and some other folks, but you know, we think that it's maybe a good idea to investigate some more well sites. And we think it's a good idea to maybe investigate a new tank closer to town near well 4 on that hill, like an elevated tank. So if you did include those things in this PER, it just opens up all of those different things for getting replaced. And, you know, another big one I think is replacing that water line main from well 6 all the way up to the tank where you guys, the boneyard is, all the water line breaks are happening. I think that's a pretty important necessity to make sure that you don't have any more breaks there and drain the tank. And there's some possibilities to have some opportunities to take care of that system and make that a little better. So those are some of the main things. And so HDR has experience navigating the dual funding sources and the complications that arise from having 2 complicated payment request processes. So the reason I put that in there is say you do get RD funding and you're also getting WWDC funding. Those 2 payment applications and making RD and WWDC get along is a pain in the ass. And we've been doing that on several projects and are happy to do that for clients where, you know, it takes some effort and takes some time, and it's an assistance that we like to provide to clients to do some of that. So I just thought I'd throw that in there too. Considerations for scope and budget. So one of the things that we wanted to mention based on what we just discussed is that rural development search grants, they're probably only going to fund one. Like if you're going to get a water PER, they're kind of more likely just to fund it one time, and they're more likely to want you to put as much stuff into it that first time, because if you come back later and, you know, say you focus this on just the subdivision, you come back later and you want to do more of this other stuff, sometimes they're a little bit more hesitant to get you a search grant for that future PER. So just something to kind of keep in mind. The other thing that we wanted to mention is that we're currently in the process of negotiating with you on the wastewater PER. There are quite a few different task level items that have overlap in those two reports. And so the places where we see that efficiencies can be gained if you hire HDR in our team is in the planning tasks, and some of those include population and demand and all of that stuff. And then in the environmental report, expanding that wide enough to where, you know, we have to send all these, they're called agency letters. You send letters to Game and Fish and all the other folks, and they send you back the letters saying, no, all this stuff's been disturbed and there's not any issues or whatever. And so if you can kind of tailor that to cover both the wastewater and water PER, there's probably some efficiencies that could be gained there. And so just something we wanted to throw out there. This is a timeline based on the requirement of having this done in October. And so this shows the subdivision water PER and the wastewater PER kind of running concurrently and having them both get completed in October. The project planning level tasks, you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see my kind of right in there. And then the environmental report, you know, those agency letters. So it's earlier on that we see some of those efficiencies. Obviously your wastewater alternatives and your water alternatives are going to be substantially different and whatnot, but let's see. Last time we were here, we showed you a whole list of cover sheets that we had done that were PERs that were wastewater related. We don't have as many that we've done that are just specifically water related, but we do have a couple that we've just recently done. The one's the ETD phase 3 preliminary engineering report, and the other one's a Arapahoe area water supply phases 1 and 2 preliminary engineering report. Both of those reports, we were able to take WWDC level 1 data and fit them into these reports. So it's something like I've said, we've got experience doing these. There's not a lot of difference really between water and wastewater PERs as far as how the specific format layout is for those. And you know, we've been doing an awful lot of these here recently and feel like we've got a pretty good idea how to get them done. Just wanted to talk a little bit about our qualifications for our staff. I'll be the PM on the project. Marcus Kral is kind of our principal in the office that'll be overseeing everybody. Yuri Shelby's kind of our rock star guy that is in our office that really does a lot of water modeling, and he's done the water model for Lander, and they've got a pretty complicated system. So and then he's got a national expert in Jeremy English to kind of double check his work. Additionally, Jaron Smith has been assisting with, you know, all those PERs that I just mentioned. He's the guy that's been writing the lion's share of those. So he's going to be our design lead, kind of teaching the rest of our team with James, kind of passing on some of that knowledge so we have more people that can do these. Kendall Vandekamp is our environmental scientist who will be doing the report. So just selecting our team provides the town of Shoshoni a trusted and reliable partner that's able to deliver a quality product that meets your needs. So we feel like we like to become a trusted advisor to our clients. We want to listen to what you have to say and what you want out of your system. And we also want to make sure that what you get is a quality product. And I mean, the biggest thing is it needs to meet what you guys want it to do. So that's the most important part of it. That's all I had.
Well, you kind of touched on it with the get the most bang for the buck out of the project. And you were talking about other aspects that we hadn't thought of that we could add into the PER that could lead to future funding down the road as a result of it. One of the things is also not included on this initial was the other land that we have on the further to the west of Herbst Road. And the possibility of that being worked into this if we're able to get that platted and get that to you in a timely manner that you would be able to potentially be able to intertwine that if there's any difficulty on that or that's feasible.
That's the biggest thing is, just kind of having that layout. The other thing that we could do is take the density that you have planned currently and assume that you're gonna do that same density in the other location. And then you just add that number of services onto the system. So it's really usually not that difficult. The more challenging part is if you want to know what fire flows are over there, you gotta have your hydrants laid out a little bit. And so it's a little bit more hillier there, so you may have less pressure and less fire flow. You know, if you got a plat or even a preliminary plat, it's pretty easy to lay something in that's, you know, easy to do.
Whose lots for the more 1 acre, 2 acre, maybe even 5 acres on the west side of Herbst Road, not just. It'd be more for
Okay,
ranchette type things.
little bigger than what you had
Yes,
planned.
right. You know, you could have a cow or.
Yeah, and that makes it even easier because then it's less demand. So, I mean, you know, if you tell us they're 5 acre lots, we can take that acreage and figure up about what that's gonna be. And I've got a background too, if you need assistance with like laying in some preliminary plats. I've been doing that, since I was down in Cheyenne, helping with land development. So if you need just a quick breakout of a plat that meets your code, that's something that we can do as well, so.
And think of anything else that we haven't asked that needs covered. No, I don't have anything else, and I appreciate your offer to assistance, helps us find more money.
That's the name of the game. You can't get anything done if you don't have money.
Correct.
So,
You'd have a vested interest in doing that for us, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
depending on what it is, you know, most of the time we can do it on marketing budget.
Right.
Where it gets to be a little tougher is if there's a benefit cost analysis requirement or like the PR requirement, obviously is something that takes a little bit more effort and whatnot. But Chris is familiar with some of the help on just like the TAP grants and stuff that we're doing, so. Wherever we can, we'd like to do that. So,
Thank you for your time.
yeah, appreciate the opportunity. Hands in if you'd like.
It's Sage.
Oh, Sage is here too?
Yeah, I think they're online.
Online, I got you.
So-
Sorry,
I'll be out there.
I'll let him know.
Well,
Schultz online.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I guess, it's our turn.
Yes, Sage, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, do you need me to make you the host for a screen share, so any presentation or anything?
No, not really. We just here to visit and let you know a little bit about our company and ourselves, and with the 15-minute allotment, I didn't put together a real complicated proposal or presentation or anything.
Okay.
No. But anyway, so my name is Dave Schultz. I'm with Sage Civil Engineering in Cody. My business partner was going to be here to participate with me, but he went out in the field today and actually hasn't even made it back yet. I did get a text from him, and he was
he left Thermopolis just a little bit ago, so if I'd have known that it was gonna take this long, I might have asked him just to head to Shoshoni, but anyway, appreciate you allowing us to handle the interview remotely like this. One thing is I'd like to be able to assure you is that this isn't how we conduct business most, unless it's absolutely necessary. Circumstances tonight just made it to where it was the best way we could handle this. But normally we attend board meetings, council meetings, everything else, wherever we're at. We've done business all through the state and attended many meetings in the southern part of the state, Saratoga for one. So we're accustomed to doing that, and Shoshoni's actually very close to us. So if we get a chance to work together, you'll be seeing a lot of us. We also do a lot of work in Fremont County and have done and are still working with on projects down there. We've done some worked with YDOT and did some utility work on a project in Riverview Road down in Raritan, and then have worked with the tribes and also RBID. So anyway, we're down there. I'm a Riverton native and down there quite a bit visiting my relatives. Just was there last weekend, as a matter of fact. But, just a little bit about Sage, and I apologize if all I'm doing is really kind of repeating the proposal, but we are in our 23rd year of business. My partner and I worked together previously, and we decided we wanted to go out and do our own things. So we did that back in 2001, right after 9/11, actually, and people thought we were nuts, but it's turned out and worked out just fine. So, but previously to doing that, we have had, did have previous experience with myself with the YDOT, and then also with a consulting firm. But with Sage, one of our first projects that we were given was a private development, but it was a subdivision. So literally from the get-go, we've been doing this sort of project, treated water systems and designs and then construction administration for those types of projects. Mention that mainly to assure you that, I mean, the PER is obviously the first step, but in order to write a quality PER and do all the work and make sure it gets funded and is an attractive project to funding agencies, you have to know what you're doing. I will say I'm quite certain that all the firms that are visiting with you tonight are qualified and have probably done numerous PERs in their histories, such as we have. We've done probably close to 40 subdivisions over our career here, almost all of them involving treated water systems and sanitary sewer and all the other utilities, power, telecommunications, streets, and curb and gutter. But so our experience with this type of a project is plentiful. But I think what I'd like to say is, assuming everybody can do this sort of work, we have an excellent track record of meeting budgets, and of course those budgets are based on our preliminary work. We've done a lot of other types of preliminary work to secure funding for other projects, such as irrigation projects and aviation work. So once we put together the cost estimates, which we take very seriously, because we know that you can't just throw an estimate out there that's too high, but you don't want to not have enough money either. And we have a good track record of preparing preliminary cost estimates and then hitting those cost estimates. We have very few change orders during construction and even during design. I mean, we rarely have any change orders, even for the engineering side of things, for the design, but rarely do we have change orders for construction, and frankly, when we have, those have been, most of the time, they are actually cost saving. Because we'll be out there and we'll find ways to save money once we get out there. We have a non-existent claim history, which also I think points to the fact that our designs are thorough. We have quality designs and provide quality construction observation services. The main reason for bringing all that up is because to show that we have the experience to on this sort of a project. We realize that your PER is what we're going after at this point, but the experience overall is going to make the PER and what follows it either successful or not so successful. Have every confidence in the world that we would finish a good project for you guys. With the PER, looking through there and the steps or the contents of the PER are standard. And we're looking down through there, and I think a lot of it based on we had a brief conversation with Mayor Highsmith during the proposal stage, and it does appear like you guys have put a lot of thought into this. Of course, the area is already platted, so that makes the ability to do a lot of different things with treated water alignments and things like that. There may not be a lot of alternatives out there, and you've probably looked at what alternatives there are. We'd like to think we could maybe bring in a fresh perspective and see if there are any other alternatives as part of writing the PER, as that is one of the subjects in the report itself. The rest of the items, we would propose that we would use as much of the work that's already been done, possibly even the previous PER for the sewer project you're just finishing up. Use as much data that's been collected and prepared, if it's appropriate, to save on time and costs to get this PER done in a quick manner. We'd have no concerns with meeting or improving on the schedule of having it completed next October, which is the deadline according to the RFQ. So, the need for the project, we don't understand there to be a health or sanitation or security issue, nor is it because of aging infrastructure. So obviously the last item is reasonable growth and having this available to people is going to help Shoshoni grow in a reasonable manner. And from everything I hear and the comments made and the concerns that I read about is just essentially no availability of housing in Shoshoni, and you're not alone. It's difficult to find places everywhere, but fortunately for you, you're getting proactive and going to find the places or make the places for people to be able to build their homes. And we did a similar thing for the town of Burlington several years ago. They did almost the exact same thing. It was all one big subdivision. We did everything from the get-go all the way through the completion of the subdivision, but theirs is filling up as well. And so we know they can be successful, and we'd like to be able to help you out and make yours successful as well. That's about all I have as far as telling you and updating you or refreshing your memory about our firm. Don't know for sure how much time I took, but I'd be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Just one question for me. It's just related to some of our other properties that we have a, I guess I call it preliminary, idea of what the plats are gonna be to the
Mhm.
west of Herbst Road. But those are also gonna be from between 1-2 acre plats, possibly up to 5 acres. On about 73 acres of land directly to the west. And if possible and feasible, how hard do you think that would be to intertwine into the expanded scope if it's possible? To incorporate that into it as they are adjoining properties.
I'm sorry, I was looking for my volume and but yeah. So the end of your question, you were talking about adding on some additional area for additional, plating. I'm sorry, I missed your question at the end.
Okay, so yeah, we have a preliminary plat of what we want. We just haven't formally platted it yet, but they'll be between 1 up to 5 acre plats on 73 acres of land, and they are directly adjoining land directly to the west of the platted area. I was just curious on if available, what the feasibility would be to still add that into the PER if funding is adequate and any issues you would see with that.
I don't see any issues with that. Depending on how far the plat has gone and where it's at, but yeah, we of course are willing to accommodate and adapt. We've done, I guess if I had put together any sort of presentation materials to show you, I would show you some of the subdivisions we've done before. And we've done a lot of phased subdivisions. We've done, or actually, very large subdivisions, and we've done subdivisions with similar things like this, where you have the smaller residential type blocks, and then the larger ones. We usually see those in the county outside city limits, but yeah, I don't see any issues with that. I think all the data, the main thing that would change would be, or the additional work that would be required would be to just, that might take a little, I don't know how far you've gone with alternative selections or even layouts. In a situation like that, of course, we would have to expand on our cost estimates but a lot of the other information would remain because it's still the town of Shoshoni who is doing the applying. So, but yeah, we look forward to it and be happy to help expand on it if the budget's turned out okay. That's another reason for having accurate cost estimates, because we don't want something to be just discounted because it doesn't appear like there's enough money, but we don't want everybody to bring on a bunch of extra work based on low cost estimates either. But so anyway, I think that's about how I would approach that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, appreciate your submittal and thanks a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys letting us visit with you over remotely and have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. Yeah, turn the AC on.
Alert. Now waiting for Brenda.
Yeah, she's on.
Oh,
Yep.
so. Yeah. So Brenda, can you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you, Brenda.
Okay.
And you to start us off, correct?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Highsmith and council members. My name is Brenda Youngkin. My husband and I own Y2 Consultants. We have offices in Jackson, Cheyenne, and Pinedale. I have with me James Bruff, who's our a senior project manager in civil engineering for Y2 Consultants. And James is going to talk about the technical aspects of the proposal, and I'm just going to do a very brief introduction into Y2 Consultants. So we started Y2 about 15 years ago, and some of you may know Zia Yasrobi. He's another civil engineer, and we offer civil, structural and environmental engineering, geotechnical engineering, land use planning, and natural resources and survey work. Our work area tends to be in the Intermountain West. We have a lot of experience, certainly in Wyoming, but we work in other states as well. And Y2 has extensive experience with subdivision development in Teton County, and James brings water and wastewater experience specifically in other parts of Wyoming that I know he's going to get into. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'll turn it over to James.
Well, thank you. We, yeah, we'd like to thank the town council for the opportunity to come here and present. And so Mayor Highsmith and council members, I guess one thing I kind of noticed on my drive here is the town of Shoshoni sure knows how to throw a party on these Friday evenings. But anyway, and the other thing I noticed was a sign out there for Shoshoni Crossroads of Wyoming. And so that's Shoshoni has been kind of a crossroads for me, kind of my travels the last 20 years, if you will, with DEQ. I've gone through Shoshoni many times up towards Bighorn Basin or over towards Casper. But so we do have a presence here in Fremont County as well. We're kind of spread across the state of Wyoming and working several states as well. But just briefly, so there'll be 3 primary team members on this project: myself, Lou Harmon, and Rich Kripe. So I've worked in 2 different states, been licensed in both Utah and the last 20 years here in Wyoming. So basically, my days in Utah, I was involved with Gilson Engineering, private firm, and then Utah Division of Drinking Water. And during that stint there, my focus was public drinking water systems. So I've reviewed plans or seen 100+ water systems going from small to big. So all the way from Salt Lake City down to campgrounds during that stage. So we reviewed a number of projects, and so kind of gained a wide experience there. And more recently, the last 20 years here, I've been involved with the Northwest quadrant of Wyoming. So heavily here in Fremont County, as well as Hot Springs, Washakie Park, and Teton counties, with review of both water and wastewater systems. So yeah, from my review, like oftentimes I see new projects, and I see kind of what's worked and what's not. With my experience, I've also learned the importance of maybe looking at water systems as a whole too, and not always the individual pieces. I guess, for example, a couple of years ago, Cody had a storage tank project, Beacon Hill, up above the airport. when I was reviewing that project, I was asking, well, how does this fit in with the rest of the system? We kind of found out that the water storage tank was probably about 10 feet too low, lower than the other tanks on the overflow. So basically, if it had been constructed at that elevation, you would have been draining the distribution system. But I'd seen that mistake a couple other times before, where maybe one time they're trying to match up the finished floor elevation of tanks, but one tank was higher than the other one. So you have to make sure that the hydraulics work out. Also, I've had courses in pump design as well as modeling back in my college years. So yeah, it's I've always been a stickler, let's say, on pump sizing, if you will. So I know that pumps, you want the appropriate size of pump. I've seen a pump, you equip it with a VFD, and there's still limitations, but you have to make sure that you're providing both the proper head and flow. I've seen a case where they're ramping down a pump too low where it wasn't pumping anymore. You have to make sure you're looking at both the pump curve and the system curve and where it performs. So if you get appropriately sized pump in your wells, is going to perform better and more efficiently. So that means that it's gonna cost less. It's gonna last longer, your pumps and your wells. But then also just looking at different components, control valves and so forth, making sure that they're appropriately sized as well. Oftentimes it's good when we can dial in and make sure you're hitting the adequate range. Well, another key member of the team is Lou Harmon. So Lou Harmon, he had his own private firm in Colorado for a time and came up to Wyoming. I was just talking to him, found out that he was 1 year younger than my dad, so he's had several years experience. I haven't been a youngster for a while, but he's been the Southeast District Engineer down in the Cheyenne area. So he's overseen basically most of Wyoming, but specifically the southeast quadrant of the state. And then Rich Cripe kind of followed in his footsteps. He was also a manager project engineer, but Rich serves currently as the operation managers down the Y2 office down in Cheyenne. So he kind of oversees project management, billings and schedules and so forth. So we believe that amongst the three of us, we've probably seen most water systems throughout the state of Wyoming, all the small ones. And so I'm familiar with Shoshoni's project. I guess when I first came here, the mushroom facility was newly constructed. It's familiar with with their little pond system that they had out there. So then also I reviewed the plans, I guess, when the new high school was built. I was talking to Cecil, a buddy at the time, kind of issue, okay, does Shoshoni have adequate capacity for the high school? So I came here about 2015 and I kind of did a thorough inspection. Says, okay, what's your sources? What your different wells? You have 4 of them. And then also your storage tank, 500,000 gallon. Do you have adequate capacity for average day demand plus your fire suppression? And that's one thing we kind of noticed is that if, let's say with projected build out and so forth, that could put a strain on your existing water system on source. So you have to, with your sources, you have to be able to satisfy, okay, what's your maximum day demand, let's say during July and that when you're sprinkling your lawns and so forth. And then, well, if you're, let's say in July, if heaven forbid, but if there's a fire incident or something like that, you want to make sure you're not draining your tank. Of course, we've had we've had an incident not too many years ago where I guess with the transmission line. So we have the challenge with the well, excuse me, number 6 up to your transmission line. But as far as this west side development, so all project that we see, it appears to be pretty straightforward. Like, we're looking at looped distribution lines to serve 72 residential lots on that. So we have along North, or excuse me, 7th Street, there was a newly installed sewer main that runs towards the mushroom facility. So I had reviewed that project, and I did ask some questions there about capacity, and that time is more specifically directed towards the wastewater lagoon facility at Poison Creek. So I says, okay, I have some concerns. We need to make sure that they're being addressed at that time. But again, going back to this proposed development, that's pretty straightforward. We have 8-inch water mains running along 7th Street and also Maple Street. So we could it'd be fairly easy to loop in. The geotechnical borings indicate that your sandstone is not a problem in that area. And so we're not blasting or having a heavy duty excavator to achieve the appropriate depths of 6 feet or so. Then also looking at the appropriate placement of your gate valves and also your fire hydrants for fire suppression. So maybe just a couple notes here. Looking at water use data for the town of Shoshoni, we've noticed that it is on the high side. There's kind of been some discussions on that. I know that the metering could be improved here, both at the wells and then also the individual residential well connections, so we can have some better tracking of what our production is and our usage on the wells. And just kind of making sure, like, if we're not over pumping, so forth, we can kind of have a more efficient system. And it's not going to cost as much, but it kind of starts out with being able to track accurately our water production and our water use rates. And making sure that we have appropriate infrastructure for when that time comes when we do build out, because we don't want to shortchange the town, making sure you have adequate storage for, as I mentioned before, both your average day use and for your fire suppression. So I was kind of glancing at the latest water study. It kind of indicates what the maximum fire suppression is, which I read was about 1,830 gallons per minute, but it didn't state the duration. Usually that's at least a 2 or 3 hour duration. So if you're pulling that much over the course of 3 hours, you've probably drained at least half of your storage tank in that amount of time. So don't want to be draining that tank too quickly, making sure that we can keep up with the wells. So I'm familiar with the water system, and also I guess I feel like also with our team, with the combination of Lou and Rich, and that we have the experience across the state of Wyoming for small systems. We know what's economical and what's going to work for systems and what may not. We don't want to have things too elaborate, because that's usually doesn't work out for the smaller systems. But we're excited to present and look forward to working with you on future projects.
Are there any
Thank you.
questions?
Timeline you never addressed.
Oh, the timeline? Well, that's definitely, yeah, the scope. So, that's definitely like, that's kind of where I'd kind of rely upon Brenda, but also probably kind of Rich to say, okay, what's appropriate time frame and so forth. So on the request for proposals, maybe I missed something, but I don't think that was addressed. Is that?
We asked for a timeline.
Yeah, it was
Oh.
October.
Oh, is it October?
yeah.
Okay. So
And we do have the ability to meet that in our schedule. So that was one of the questions that we had for you was to confirm that timeframe.
Okay.
My only question is, looking at this, general, initial part of the 72 separate lots, we do have, 73 acres of land, that adjoins directly to the west, that we have preliminary plans of 1 to 3 acre lots there. And would that be something that, if the funding is available and of the project, that could be expanded? If that's, would be the issues with that potentially being expanded into that as well.
Yes, there potentially could be. If you do reach build out, especially on this west development build out and further west, you are close to, well, let's say full capacity, probably on both your wells and your storage tank, at this point. So I know it seems like you do have some vacant lots in town as well. It seems like the population's kind of ebbed and flowed.
There's a couple vacant lots that
Okay.
were incorporated. There's not a whole lot.
But
now.
a probably key item going back is making sure we have good records, like on our water production, or on our wells, there's our water use rates, like total, make sure, because do we have, for example, in the store, you have, let's say your fire suppression, your water storage volume is 2 components. One of them, let's consider what your largest fire suppression demand is. What's the duration, and what does that equate to in terms of volume, your total volume of your tank? Does it take up half of your tank, a third? And so that remainder portion is what you have for your average day use, and probably you want to consider in summertime
You're right, yeah, and part of that would
on
be
that. So there's some,
looking at with that expansion, if we're gonna need another water tank or anything of that, have that incorporated into the PER as what would be required to do this, would hopefully be looked at as well.
it's definitely worth the hard look, as well as making sure we're up to speed on the wells. Like the regulations require that, let's say, assume that your largest producing well is out of service. Can your remaining wells keep up with the peak day demand? So that's something to consider every once in a while. And so that's something that was assignment given to me in another shop when I was with Utah. I had to perform some feasibility studies. We looked at each item. It says, where are you at? How many connections can you properly serve without stringing yourself out too far? So that was, I've done that in my past, and I don't see that done as much here in Wyoming.
But we do have the capacity and the experience to do that if it's something that's necessary.
Thank you.
Do you have any more questions? Anything else? No.
Well, thank you again for your time and your consideration, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I guess I can go fetch the others.
Yep.
Are you gonna come with?
So we got all these up, right back. Medical orders. I appreciate that. Everything's fine. Probably put it, you want us to put our name on? No.
Or if the wind quit blowing, I don't see the car rocking too bad. Blowing pretty good this afternoon. Yeah.
we could use my own development funds to pay for wood chips.
Which funds?
My mistake, community gas funds.
Okay. Yeah, I think we could.
And so I don't know where else. Then I talked with Michelle Hucks or Rambo the other day,
Uh-huh.
and we walked that Rock Park area. And she says, one of the problems we're having, they'll come down there and they get stuck with a trailer for turnaround problems
Oh, down,
down the bottom.
okay.
And so she said, we need to put a sign down there that says dead end, no turnaround. She said, the other thing she thought of was about halfway down the road, you could put a sign that says dead end, no turnaround, or you could put a road that cuts across where there's a,
Oh, from First Street down or
Yes.
down there.
yes, and it would come out.
Right.
So, and she's talked about that a little bit.
Are they getting? They're getting stuck, some got, had some get stuck that went past the fence or something.
Okay.
They were stuck for a day or so. Wasn't that right there, Mike? Remember there's one of the Suburban?
Yeah, that was stuck below the,
Pond.
ponds.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Beyond the
A little
buildings.
further, yeah.
Down on the bottom, that's where it was stuck. That was all saturated.
Yeah. And she said, they still haven't changed the water meter out. They haven't had a working water meter for probably. She said, last time it worked was when Scott was mayor.
What size meter does it?
2-inch meter,
This meter,
rec department.
oh, right.
What? Check our water bill, I think it's good, it was running, it's been running after that.
She said it hasn't been working properly.
Okay. Cause I was told, I thought we replaced about 2 years ago, I was told we even working, why, if I remember it. The meter quit working at the cemetery. And cemetery went back to their last year. So we replaced that and paid water bill reflecting what they historically paid in the past. That's what the cemetery district
Okay.
did.
She just told me that it
Yeah.
has been working.
So, because why I remember that, because, well, that's when I thought, found out that wasn't working too. And that was the only reason I remember, because that was brought up that the cemetery district just did historically, and I thought we replaced both water meters, but that was when Buddy was still here.
Just something. we
But
need to check
it
out.
could have been not working for years and I didn't know about it. But that was what was brought up, at the time.
Okay.
And that's why I remember.
I just had a conversation with
Yeah.
her. And
Yeah.
that's something that,
Well, she should know.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, I mean, but I think 2 years ago, and I thought Buddy was gonna change out some meters, that was the last I knew.
I don't know, do you have any 2-inch meters? On sand?
No.
Okay.
1 inch. Check that out.
Yeah.
All your pipes picked up out there.
Is it picked up?
We cleaned that up.
You are.
That's a lot of work.
Not for Mike. Mike and skid steer.
Oh,
That just took him up.
and where did you dump it into a flat on your trailer?
It's all sitting down here now. Waiting for dumpsters from somewhere.
Good.
The ones you didn't get, is just the ones way up high, I ain't gonna drag them down. There's a few pieces up, way up high.
That's good. Did the rodeo grounds ever switch to just one line?
I believe they did. I believe. I believe we're only building one line.
Well, that wasn't the question. Could they
Yeah.
switch just to one line?
I thought we did that.
Yeah, I thought we did that
But
too.
I don't, know that it's done. I thought,
I just wanted
cause I was told there was a
2 meters.
hydrant in that area that they're thinking they'd taken out over by the sewer pond or something. There isn't one. And I thought that was taken out when they done the rodeo ground. It's something separate.
Yeah, they used to have a separate line going to the bathroom, I think.
Right, that's where they had 2 meters. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they got any rodeo scheduled this summer or not.
I can't answer that.
You know, I haven't heard from them.
Well, we know that, or, Gloria,
Bob Dritton. Yeah, I didn't. Did they have a rodeo last?
1 or 2, they were. Or
They were
just
doing
little
some
ropies.
They were doing some
Okay.
Jim Candace, but maybe that was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't remember going down last year, may have, but I don't.
Yeah, I think they did. I remember, I think it was Lindy Lynn who was announcing.
Okay,
Mom survived this riding horses. When Branch gets to whipping and spurring her at 6 across the. It's like, "Ay." It scares me.
I had a horse when I was. I'm very old. 8, 7, 8. Nice, something went into this low hanging, little. It was. Well, me sitting on the horse, I could hit my head when we went through there, yeah, yeah. Went in this little barn and. Kaboom, from every 2x4 rafters. Sort of a shelter for the horses, not a barn, but sort of a shelter.
Rope and shed.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm riding in there pretty good. Yeah, me and my sisters will have little saddles, kid saddles.
Frankie's got a pretty decent one. He's pretty sticky, but I still get worried when he goes loping off across the prairie.
Yeah.
Sure, we did it last year.
Yeah.
They said, so, we don't have rodeo horses, you know, and they said you could just lead him, cause he's 5. You could just lead the horse. I put him on my big mare, cause she's the only one I can lead at a fast, when I'm on the ground, she'll move with me, the
Yeah.
others just, you dragging them. Well, then, since some other people are doing it, we're on a horse leading the kid on the horse, just to get him a little experience. Yeah, I just jumped on Branch's horse, so he's riding my horse, and like every barrel racer, he lost his hat right off the gate. Right?
Yeah.
So we get back there and they go to hand it to him, and that horse jumped like 6 foot sideways, and he stuck it, and he was cool as a cucumber. She jumps, he said, takes his hat, crams it on his head, and we go out to deal with.
Just like a pro.
Get me off this horse right now. He didn't let him see him. Didn't let him see him bleed. That's pretty. That's there. I think it was all pretty well qualified.
Yeah, this. I'm really close.
Five-way tie.
It was. I think it came down to very few differences.
Mhm.
Like the SRO position, 3 really good candidates.
Mhm.
That's great.
Any one of the 3 would have been just fine.
When are they starting officially, in August or?
No, we'll get them hopefully going for July, because they have a SRO course in Billings, June 30th.
Oh, get them on, get them going.
Trying to get them worked
Yeah,
out.
let's get everything in the swings.
We had to file a 4-month extension with our cops grant because of the lag he's been in Cody left and get this one going, so getting going quicker.
Yeah. That's good news.
So you found it, SRO,
Yep,
the school finally,
we got all that worked out and
good.
I believe that we have a good understanding of what the word teamwork means. So it went really well. We had really good candidates, and they were happy with the process, so I think we got that result.
Should we call them on in?
Yeah.
Here? I didn't see anybody.
Oh.
I didn't see where everybody went. Oh, library, I didn't go that far. I had at least 3 of them.
Mhm.
We don't want to go back. Oh, you're gonna stop another guy. No, we just don't wanna, we don't wanna set up like a potluck. And invite people that want to invite.
Selection only.
Yes, yeah. We won't come up to this time. Okay. Partner advantage.
We tabulated the scores and HDR had the highest composite score. It was relatively pretty close, but so I guess we will like to meet with HDR in the very near future. And start, see if we can work out an agreement. I thank everybody participating and,
If not, we'll do a number two.
yep, and if we do not come to an agreement with HDR, we will go down to the number two. If we can't, if we, something unforeseen that we can't come to agreement on.
Well, thank you for your attention and interest.
Well, we appreciate you, we really appreciate everybody for putting in here. Because it's,
So I guess we'll see you guys.
yeah,
Yeah, what's the next one that's coming out? We're kind of enjoying these Friday.
We're gonna
Yeah.
not do Fridays anymore. I've gotten the impression that this is not a good day.
Ruins the weekend.
But last time you gave out the scoring sheets, I was wondering if I could just hang out a little bit longer, but by chance.
sure,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
you bet.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Good.
You send those out in the scoring sheet.
Okay,
I move we adjourn.
so we need a vote.
I thought. So we would vote to the next council meeting.
No, it's on here.
That's on
Yeah, so I move that we, go into negotiations with HDR for the, water PU.
Been moved by Councilman Stetler and seconded by Councilman Zant.
I haven't opened my mouth yet.
There's nobody else to make a second. I was asking the question.
It has to be, yes, I second that.
Been seconded by Councilman Zant that we enter into negotiations with HDR for our PER. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Now, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Zant, do we adjourn?
Second.
Second by Councilman Stetler. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all the affirmative,
47.